Namaste and welcome. Thank you so much for choosing to be here today. Today, we're going to go through a short postnatal practice. This practice will focus on stabilization and really just kind of bringing you back home into your body. You won't need any props for this practice, but if you have props at home, I highly recommend you use them, especially if they help you to get more length or kind of bring the floor up to the height in which your extension needs. And I'll walk you through all of that throughout the course of this practice. If you are practicing at home with your baby, I recommend that you place your little one at the top of your mat on a comfortable surface, such as a blanket, and you could choose to put any toys that they would like to interact with around them, but you'll have plenty of breaks and opportunities to connect with them throughout the course of this flow. So let's go ahead and begin by coming into a seat. So as we start seated, you might choose to place a blanket underneath your sitting bones, or you can even sit up on a pillow, just whatever feels best for your hips in this moment. Especially if your knees are really drawing up towards your chest, you just want to elevate the hips on something so that the knees can start to slope downwards. You're just going to close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose and a long breath out. Softening your shoulders, relaxing your eyebrows. Take a deep breath in. And a long breath out. Go ahead and lower your right ear over to your right shoulder. I'll mirror you. And then drop your chin in towards your chest and kind of rock your head from side to side, moving one ear to the shoulder and then the other ear to the shoulder. And as you move side to side, starting to open up the back of your neck. And then slowly allow your head to create full circles, moving your head to the back, rotating all the way around. Breathing into any tight spaces that you might find along the way, maybe pausing. And kind of move that circle all the way down into your shoulders. So you're going to start to feel your shoulders and your chest move like you're moving into the barrel of your chest, and you're just kind of feeling your way through that spiral. It's going to feel like you're doing a big hula hoop around your spine. And then slowly bring your chest over one knee and then over towards the other. So you start to do these big Sufi rolls in your chest as you kind of roll from side to side. So now that extension, that movement is getting down into your pelvis and into your hips. And go ahead and move in the opposite direction, just kind of finding that water element, that fluidity along your spine. Noticing what feels good in your body and listening to that. Good. And then go ahead and find a nice tall spine. Inhale, reach your arms up and overhead. And lower your right hand down towards the ground and just lean on over to the right. Now, instead of falling towards the floor, press into your right palm so you kind of fan open the left side of your ribs. And then inhale, come back up to center and switch. Lower your left hand down and then lean on over to the side. Press down into your bottom palm, fanning open the side of your ribs. And then inhale, come back up to center, and then exhale, bring your hands down into your heart. And this is a nice time to either wiggle your fingers in front of baby, or if baby's kind of fussy, you can snap, and usually that helps to get their attention. And you can use that throughout the course of this practice, just including those nice soft hand movements throughout your flow to keep them engaged and also let them know that you're there for them. Okay, let's go ahead and come onto your hands and to your knees. Again, if you have that blanket, you can place your knees on a blanket just to cushion your knees a little bit. Spread your fingertips nice and wide and really root down into the index knuckle, so into the inner palm, and feel the low belly lift slightly. Draw the shoulder tips down towards your hips. That'll feel like the shoulder blades are gliding down your back, and that'll broaden your collarbones a little bit. Send your right foot back behind you, and then spin your right foot flat, and then circle your right arm up towards the sky. It's okay if that left arm is a little bit of an angle, kind of helps to stabilize the shoulder. And then just wrap that left shoulder blade down and under so you get a little bit of opening across your chest. If you want to reach forward through that right arm, then you can. Come back up to center and then lower your right hand down and switch. Right knee comes down, left foot steps back. Spin the back foot flat and then reach your left arm up. Draw your right shoulder blade down your back as you root down to the right index knuckle. Maybe you reach that top arm overhead. And then exhale, lower that hand down. Let and lower onto your forearms. And then step your feet back into forearm plank pose. And we'll just take 3 breaths here. You can always lower your knees down to the ground as you're doing this, and feel your tailbone kind of chase your heels, so you feel that slight lift of your low belly. And then lower your hips down to the ground. Pull your sternum up towards the sky. Sternum's that bone right between your collarbones. Lift that guy up. And then drop your chin slightly. Press the tops of your feet down into the floor so your kneecaps kind of lift, and feel that nice opening across your heart and chest. Now lower your chest all the way down to the floor, dragging your hands down by your side ribs. Stretch your right palm out to the side. I did this all the time in the beginning of my postpartum, especially if you're nursing, opening up the shoulders. Bend your left knee, roll onto your right shoulder, and then drop the right shoulder down. Drop the right ear towards the floor. And then switch, roll onto your belly. Send your left palm, whole left arm out to the side. And then go ahead and bend your right knee, roll onto your left shoulder, and step your right foot behind you. Any position with that right arm. 8 breaths. And take one more breath. And then roll back onto your belly, press down into your palms, and then glide your hips back into child's pose. Placing your hips kind of towards your heels and dropping the crown of your head down. Breathing really deeply down into your hips. Really filling your lungs so that your hips start to feel like they're ballooning with that breath. And then as you exhale, deflating the chest and releasing, letting go. Observing the rise and fall of each of your breaths. Now shift forward back onto your hands into your knees. Tuck your toes under and lift your hips to the sky for downward facing dog pose. And you can pedal out your feet here, bending one knee and then bending the other. You'll walk your hands back to your feet and just come into a little bit of a forward fold. Maybe bend your knees or grab opposite elbows. And then lower your hands down, roll all the way up to stand. Press down into your feet as your arms circle up towards the sky. And then exhale, bring your hands into your heart. Inhale, reach your arms up high. Exhale, fold forward, maybe bending your knees and drop the crown of your head down. Lengthen your spine as you breathe in, and then exhale, walk your hands back out into downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forward into plank pose and just feel that low belly lift. Knees up or knees down, lowering all the way down to the mat. Let your elbows sweep by the sides of your waist as you lower down. Release the tops of your feet onto the floor. Lift your kneecaps, shrug your shoulders up and down so they glide down your back as you lift your heart and chest. And then exhale, melt the chest back down. 2 more times. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, down. Press into your hands, lift your hips up and back into child's pose. Take a cycle of breath. And shift forward onto your hands into your knees and then tuck your toes and lift your hips to the sky, downward facing dog pose. And step your feet forward between your hands, and as you inhale, lengthen your spine. As you exhale, fold. Bend your knees, roll up to stand, press down into your feet as your arms circle up towards the sky. And then exhale, hands come to meet in front of your heart. Inhale, reach up high. Exhale, fold forward, crown of the head towards the ground. Lengthen your spine as you breathe in and then step back into downward facing dog pose. Inhale, shift into plank pose. Feel your triceps or the back of the arms wrap back. Knees up or knees down. Feel the low belly lift. So as you lower down, the hips are the last thing to hit the floor. Taps of the feet turn to the mat as you lift your chest for cobra on an inhale. And then exhale, lower the chest back down. Press into your hands and pull your hips back into child's pose. Take a cycle of breath. Now inhale, shift back to hands and knees and tuck your toes and lift your hips up and back in a downward facing dog pose. Step just your right foot forward between your hands and come up onto your fingertips. Feel your inner thighs squeeze and hug as your shoulder blades glide down your back. Soften your jaw, maybe gently part your teeth and root down through your right heel. Keep your left hand down. You can choose to bring it to a block if you have one. And then reach your right arm up to the sky so you start to open up into a twist. And take a deep breath into your nose. And then exhale, lower your right hand down. Step back into downward facing dog pose. Switching sides, step your left foot forward. Coming up onto your fingertips. Feel your outer hips hug, inner thighs squeeze. And then pull your sternum forward towards the top of the mat. You can stay here or grab a block and place your right hand down on that and reach your left arm up to the sky. Take a cycle of breath. And then exhale, lower your left hand down and step back into downward facing dog pose. Inhale, shift forward into plank pose and just hold. So instead of going through the vinyasa, take your left hand to your right shoulder and come back down. Right hand to left shoulder. Come back down. You can also do this with your knees down. Left hand to right shoulder. And again, you're just focusing a little bit more on stabilization and strengthening. Couple more deep breaths. Then glide your hips back into downward facing dog. And then walk your hands back to your feet this time. Bend your knees deeply so you sit into a chair. So as you sit into that chair, your feet will be about hips width and distance. Drop your hips down and lift your chest up. But feel the core, that low belly, start to lift a little bit. And reach your arms up by your ears. Spread your toes. Feel kind of that rocking between your feet. And press down, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. And release the fingers behind your back. Draw the knuckles towards the floor as you open your chest. And then exhale, fold forward and drop the crown of your head down. And take one more breath. Lower your hands down, walk your hands out into downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward between your hands. Spin your back foot flat. Line up the front heel with your back arch. And then open your arms into warrior two. Straighten out your right leg and shift forward in a triangle pose. If you have that block, you can take your block outside of your right foot and press down as you reach your left arm up. Feel that stretch of that opening across your chest as you see the block can kind of really help to lift the floor up so you can get that maximum extension through your spine. If you don't have that block, then maybe hand to shin, although you'll really have to press down into your feet to balance. And take one more breath. Bend into your right knee, come into warrior two pose. And stretch across your shoulders. Hook your right elbow over your left and wrap up for eagle. Looks like that. Breathe. One more breath. And then open your arms. Circle your hands down to the floor and step back into downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forward into plank. And you'll stay here, pressing your hands into the floor. Take one more breath. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now step your left foot forward between your hands. Spin your back foot flat, letting the front heel up with your back arch. As you circle your arms open into warrior two. Go ahead and straighten out your left leg. Shift forward, gliding forward, lowering your left hand down to your shin or outside your foot to a block. Press down into your feet. Really spread your toes to lift through your arches and draw that left shoulder blade down your back. Deep breaths. Pulling up from your pelvic floor, opening across your chest a little bit more. And one more breath. And then bend your left knee and come back into warrior two. Left elbow on top of the right, wrapping your arms up for eagle and sinking down into your hips as you breathe into that space between your shoulder blades. And now open up your arms and circle your hands down to the floor. Step your left foot back so you return to downward facing dog pose. Inhale, shift forward into plank pose and turn both heels to the right and reach your left arm to the sky for Vashisthasana. Again, you can lower your right knee down if that felt better for your body. And switch, left hand down. Turn both heels to the left as you reach your right arm up. And take a breath. And then exhale, lower your right hand down to the floor and glide your hips back into downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forward into plank pose. Knees up or knees down as your low belly rises lower down to the floor. Interlace the fingers now behind your back and draw the knuckles towards your heels as you lift your chest. Press down into your feet and lift your chest a little bit more. And then exhale, lower down to the floor. And now come up onto your forearms. So you're turning into that Sphinx pose once again. Bend your right knee and cut your right foot to get a quad stretch. Whew. Switch. Release the right foot. Bend your left knee and catch your left foot. Get a quad stretch. And then release. And lower down to the floor, hands by your lower ribs, and press into your hands into your knees. So you're not quite into child's pose. As you're on your hands and knees, reach your right arm up to the sky, open up your chest, and then thread your left arm. Change so you can see a better view. Thread your arm underneath your shoulder and lower your right ear down to the ground. You can walk your left hand forward if that feels good. And switch. Take your left hand down. Lower your right hand back down to the floor. Reach your left arm up. Inhale. And exhale. Thread your left arm underneath your right shoulder. And maybe walk your right hand forward. Switch so you can breathe. Notice my hips are more so over my knees, so we're not in child's pose. One more breath. And then slowly come back up onto your hands and onto your knees. Go ahead and tuck your toes under and stand up on your knees. You can always place that blanket underneath your knees if your knees are particularly sensitive. Lower your right hand to your right heel and then reach your left arm up towards the sky so you kind of get that nice arch on the left side of your body. Bend your hips back like chair pose, moving your hips towards your heels. Grab your left heel, reach your right arm up, and then lift up. Lift up from Mula Bandha. Maybe your hips move forward, but you don't have to push them too far forward to get that stretch in the right side of your body. And then switch. Rocking from side to side. And just kind of listening to your body, going slow. We'll do one more. Awakening your body, energizing. And then rest down on your heels. Maybe knees together. Closing your eyes and taking a few breaths. You can bring a hand to your heart or a hand to your belly. Maybe palms fold in your lap. Bring your awareness to the space between your eyebrows and softening there. The home of your intuition, that space of inner knowing. Strengthening every day becoming more clear-minded, a little bit more aligned with your heart, connected to that well within your body, that well of strength, of love, of generosity, of gratitude. As you connect that link between your head and your heart. Breathing in and breathing out. And go ahead and roll onto your hips, send your feet forward, and come all the way onto your back. So we're just going to do a little bit of gentle abdominal work. As you inhale, you'll reach your arms up overhead, feet are flat on the floor. And as you exhale, reach your hands forward and lift your shoulder blades up off the mat. I want you to imagine as though you're kind of just pumping the floor. So you're just going to pump. Go ahead, inhale, arms up and back. Exhale, hands forward, shoulder blades lift. And again, pumping for 2, 3, and 4. Inhale up and back. Exhale, hands forward, shoulder blades lift. If you feel fine here, you can send your right foot forward and pump. Right foot lowers, arm up and back. Hands forward, shoulder blades lift. Send your left foot forward and then pump. Lower your left foot down, reach your arms up and back. Exhale, last time, hands forward, shoulder blades lift. And if you're feeling strong, you can send both feet forward and feet lower down. This time, keep your hands by your hips as you lower your chest and head down. Lift your hips up for bridge pose. You'll kind of glide your hips up until they're in alignment with your knees. And you'll feel that nice long line between your knees and your hip bones and your shoulders. Draw the inner thighs down and kind of feel a little bit more broadening in your lower back as you engage your glutes slightly. You might release the fingers behind your back and shrug your shoulder blades down. Press into your outer arms. Spread your toes. Take another deep breath in through your nose. Feel your hamstrings turn on. Take one more breath. And then exhale, slowly lower your hips back down to the ground. So if you are practicing at home with your baby, I tend to turn my body around so that your baby can see you. So you'll just kind of do a little bit of a flip and your head will be towards your baby. And you can always play with your baby's toes. Just make sure that they know that you're there. So it's totally up to you. You don't have to be head towards the back. One more time, go ahead and press down into your feet. Lift your hips up. Roll your inner thighs down. Press into the outer edges of your feet and the mound of your big toes. Take another deep breath in through your nose. You can interlace your fingers. Hold for the exhale. And then lower all the way back down. And draw your right knee in towards your chest as you send your left foot forward. And then take your right knee over to the left. Right arm out to the side. Breathe a lot. And draw your right knee back in. Give your right knee a hug. And then switch. Left knee in, right foot forward. And then take your left knee over to the right as you open up your left arm. Take a few breaths. And draw your left knee back in. Lower your left foot down to the ground. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh and open up the knee. And you can stay here or come in to thread the needle, interlacing the fingers on the belly of your hamstring. Soft, deep breath. Relaxing the back of the head, neck, and shoulders. And switch, release the interlace, lower your left foot down, lower your right foot down, cross the left ankle over your right thigh, and release the fingers on the belly of your hamstring. My breath. And then hug your knees in towards your chest as you let that go. And this just feels so good on the lower back. This gentle hug. Just releasing of the frontal hip flexors, psoas muscle. Massaging some of those inner organs. And take another breath. And then release down into Shavasana, corpse pose. And choosing to rest here. You can also run your legs up the wall if you would like to come to a wall. Place a blanket or a cushion perhaps underneath your hips. Roll onto your side. And send your feet up for a gentle and restorative inversion. And as your eyes close, relaxing your forehead, your jaw, your tongue, the ears, the head, neck, and shoulders. And feeling that wave of relaxation just wash over your body as every breath kind of moves up and down your whole body. As you cleanse and rinse away what you no longer need and send it back down into the ground to be absorbed and renewed, allowing you to return home into your heart as you breathe into that space within you, giving yourself the nourishment that your body needs to be able to provide for another life. filling up your tanks in this moment right now. Deep breath in and a long breath out. Okay, mamas, we're going to end the video right here, but I encourage you to rest for as long as your body needs. Thank you so much for joining me here today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Namaste.